going to kind of go ahead and get started with today's topic. So as you guys know, we're talking just about what it looks like as a day in the life of a virtual assistant. To give you guys a little bit of background before I let Emily take it away, Emily is my virtual assistant, which I felt like it was so convenient, right, to just ask her to come on and hang out with me for our coffee chat this week. I know some of you guys are thinking about maybe becoming a VA, and that's why you're here. Others of you were thinking about potentially bringing on a VA and just have some questions about what a VA could do for your business. How do you know if you can afford a VA? Some of those things. And so we're going to discuss a lot of questions throughout this really casual talk and just be able to hang out with you guys. So Emily has been my VA for what, like 18 months now, over like a year and a half. Yeah, which is crazy. She and I met at Creative at Heart conference that I host. We met in 2016. 15. Okay, I'm like, wait, all my years are like blurring together. We met at the end of 2015 at the Charleston conference. And then a couple months after that conference, I actually put out a call in our Creative at Heart alumni group, seeing if any of our alumni would be interested in helping me with the Instagram account, because I was feeling, you guys know Instagram can be super overwhelming. I was feeling overwhelmed with trying to manage my own business, plus Instagram and lots of things. And Emily applied to step in and help us with that Instagram account. And we were so grateful. I was super just impressed with her. And she stepped up and was handling our Instagram account for a while for the entire 2016 year. And then she jumped on board as my VA as well. So yes, I am just so grateful for her and so excited that she's here to talk to you guys a little bit more today. And I'll let her do a quick little intro of herself, and then we will jump into some questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that introduction. That was so nice. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily, and I am so excited to get to hang out with you today for a little bit. A few things about me. I live in Virginia with my husband, Matt, and our sweet puppy, Abby. I am a virtual assistant to creative entrepreneurs, and I get to serve creatives all over the country, and it's been really awesome. I started in the creative industry as a wedding planner, and I planned weddings while I was in grad school to pay for my MBA. And after graduating, I got a full-time job and worked there for 4 years, I believe it was, and then actually quit that job, fully intending to pursue wedding planning full-time. And it was actually a couple weeks later that I had the opportunity to attend Creative at Heart. And as I mentioned, I fully intended going into that experience that I was going to be a wedding planner, but quickly realized that maybe that wasn't the case. So as Kat mentioned, I started as the Creative at Heart social media intern in January 2016. And over the next few months, I had the opportunity to work directly with Kat and her team on social media. And I really fell in love with the entire process, and then had the opportunity to attend rounds 4 and rounds 5. And it was actually in Denver at round 5 where I finally said out loud that I did not want to be a wedding planner anymore. And then a few weeks later, after getting home, Kat sent me an email about joining her team. And here we are, 18 months later.
So crazy. And we're going to talk through like a little bit of that transition too, guys, and kind of how I, like Emily was really the first person I brought on to do a lot of more behind the scenes in my business. At the time, I had a team of a couple of girls who were helping me with running the conference, because as you can imagine, hosting a conference for 100 plus creatives is a lot on top of your business that you're already running. So I had to have, some hands-on help with that. But Emily was really the first person I kind of took a chance on, and not that she wasn't worth it, because she obviously was, but I know that can be a fear that a lot of small business owners have is, well, how do I know if I can really trust this person and let this person into my business, because your business is your baby. So we're definitely going to talk about that. But before we do, I wanted to ask you, Emily, because you transitioned, and so this might be helpful for people who are potentially thinking about becoming a VA, and even just to give us a little bit more of your background. But you transitioned, or what was it like being the face of your business to then being more behind the scenes in your business? From like wedding planning is a little bit more active role, on wedding days and things like that, versus now being a VA and being behind the scenes a little bit more.
Yes. So that transition was actually really easy for me. You know this, and if you know me, yes, and if you know me well, you know that I am not a spotlight kind of girl. And I think that can be really tough when you're building a business. So you see all of these incredible entrepreneurs, and they are doing really amazing things. And you think that you should be doing all of those same things. But for me, I found that my strength was not coming up with all of the ideas. It was actually being more so behind the scenes and helping others to implement those ideas and really just being there for them to help get things done.
I wholeheartedly agree. Not that this is like a pitch for your services in any way, shape, or form. But as somebody who I always felt like I was detail oriented, you guys, like even growing up, I was the organized one. I just always liked things to be put in place. And then when I brought Emily on, I was like, oh, no, no, no. She takes detail oriented to like a totally new level in the best of ways, because I am a big idea person. And so I think that that speaks very true to personality of a virtual assistant in general, right? And for those of you who might be nervous about bringing on a virtual assistant, finding that right personality fit, that while Emily is great for me to like ping pong ideas back and forth, she really truly loves to support the ideas that I have in my business versus wanting to come up with all of these grand ideas on her own. And that's wonderful. And I feel like there's a place for both in the industry. And we don't always talk about the VA side of things as much, which is why I'm really excited for today. So what would you suggest to someone, or what would you suggest someone does first if they are thinking about hiring a VA? And I know I definitely want to talk through a little bit of like my process with this too. But what are some things that if somebody reaches out to you and says that they're looking to bring on a VA, they've never brought on a VA before, what should they do first?
I would definitely first look at all of the areas in your business that are not getting done. For me personally, that was 100% accounting and bookkeeping. We hired Amy Northard to do our family taxes, and I also hired her to do my business bookkeeping. And it was honestly one of the best decisions that I ever made. Also, really think about the big picture items in your business that are always getting pushed to the side because they're not priority. And really try and think about what your business would look like if you were freed up and all of those things were happening regularly and on time. Because if you're willing to accept help, you're going to be able to do so much more.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. So one of the reasons that I reached out to Emily, you guys, was I actually had a month before I reached out to Emily, I had my first miscarriage. And it was a huge eye-opening experience for both Matt and I for a lot of reasons. But one of them, of the many, was I looked at my business in a different way. And I started thinking about, okay, well, what's going to happen if this happens again and I'm not physically capable of handling my business? As the like sole owner of our businesses, you have a lot on your plate. You have a lot of clients that are expecting things from you, and a lot of people that are constantly looking for you. And it's not like a regular job, right, where you can call in sick for that day. It's much, much harder to call in sick when you are the boss and you are responsible for handling all of those responsibilities and being HR, admin, CEO, CFO, like all of those things. So that experience for us, one of the things that came out of that was realizing, you know what, I need to have kind of a backup plan, and I need to like open my fist on my business and allow somebody else to come in and support my business so that we did want to continue, to try for a family, so that if something happens down the road and when I go on maternity leave, or when, if I get put on bed rest, or, if something else happens in my life and I need to step away from my business, there's somebody else there who at least can run the day to day, right? Who can respond to emails, who understands where certain things are located in my business and can help keep it afloat while I have to step away. So that was obviously a very personal reason for me to start to think about, okay, I really do need a VA. it had been one of those things where I feel like I'm sure for some of you guys, I mean, you were interested in this webinar, right? Like maybe you've seen people talk about it online. You're like, a VA, what is this person? Like, how do you find one? Like, what do you need? Like, why do you need one? So I'd seen it pop up every now and then, but I didn't really know what that would look like in my business. So after having that big moment in my life and realizing that I did need help, the next thing I did was very similar to what Emily was talking about in terms of figuring out, where do I need the most help? Because I didn't want to reach out to Emily and just like, I don't want you to reach out to a potential VA and just say, I need help. Like, that person doesn't know what you mean by that. So you need to be very clear with, this is where I need help in my business, so that you can know, A, is that person a good fit? Like, maybe where you need help isn't their strength. And so they might say, hey, I'm so sorry you need help here, but I can't help you. Go to these people, and you can find a great fit in terms of the packages and the strengths that that person has. And it also just provides a lot of clarity for you to know where you need help in your business. So I did a whole brain dump. I'm a big fan of brain dumps. If you guys read my blog or follow me at all on Instagram, I talk about them quite a bit. I feel like my brain has too many things going on in it, and sometimes you just need to write it all down. So I wrote down literally every single thing I was doing in my business, everything, guys. And then I figured out, okay, of these things, of everything, the mundane to the big, what do I love? And what do I not love? And then what has to get done, right? Like emails, they have to get done, invoices, contracts, like some of those things, that's the grow or just the maintaining aspect of my business. They have to get done. So those were the things that I figured out, you know what? I could bring in somebody to help me automate and systemize those things, and it can still get done and get done well, but I physically do not have to be the one to do them. So that is my biggest tip. If you guys are thinking about hiring a VA, is making sure that you really understand what you need in your business and have that clear-cut list for people when you're reaching out to potential VAs. I hope that was helpful. And if you guys ever have questions, seriously, pop them in as we're chatting, because we want to make sure this is beneficial for y'all too. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Let's see. So question then, what are some things that, because we just talked about like, brain dumping, figuring out like, okay, now I know what I need in my business, right? I have this whole list of things I need some help with. How do we know if a VA can do those, or what tasks can a VA do in our business?
Oh my goodness, there are so many things. I think we could talk about this all afternoon. But let's see. So from responding to email inquiries that you get, to sending invoices to your clients, managing your social media accounts, your Pinterest account, creating graphics, or even uploading content to your website, your blog, formatting your newsletters. There really are so many things. But I think maybe since we just have, let's see, 45 more minutes, we should instead of listing all of those things, I would really encourage all of you to really think about what a VA could do for your life, and think about all of those things that you're going to be able to do if you had more time.
I love that. And I'm just going to pop this in here too. Emily and I actually created this download for you guys. That's 25 things a VA can do for you today, just to go ahead, because again, we only have 45 minutes left right now. So there are so many things the VA could do, but I know that sometimes we get stuck on like, could I really train somebody to do this? Or is there somebody out there that specializes in this specific tasks? So we sat down and wrote out basically things that she is doing in my business, the 25, literally all 25 of them, let's be honest, of the things that she's doing in my business or doing with other clients. And so hopefully that's helpful. I'll pop that in later, but just because that topic came up, I wanted to make sure I share that with you guys now. So Emily, what do you think is like the best way, or how do you handle onboarding like new clients, or how do you prefer to be onboarded into somebody's business as a VA?
So as you mentioned, I require that they all have everything written down and have lots and lots and lots of detailed workflows. I think that whether you already have a virtual assistant or you are just in the beginning stages of thinking about bringing someone on to your team, it's so important that you do have every single one of those things written down, and even better if you can have that recorded. So for me, from the VA standpoint, having those videos that I from my clients of them actually doing a recording. So if they are recording their voice and their screen, I can go back and I can watch those videos over and over again. So it's super convenient that I don't have to text them or email them or tag them in Trello every single time I have a
Hmm.
question. So I really love having those videos. And also remember that you can take baby steps. You can just start with one or two tasks and really use that to build confidence in the whole process.
Absolutely. When Emily first started for me, guys, she was doing only 5 hours a week, like a max of 5 hours a week. And that was super helpful for both of us, I think, to like ease our way into it. I had a lot of fear of giving up control, right? Like that's just really scary to allow somebody in and like show them email templates and like explain to them how you work in Honeybook, which actually that's a lie. She explained to me that process because I was like, girl, I'm so lost. Like somebody just needs to take this over. That was like a huge pain point for me. But anyway, giving up control was hard. So for us, starting with a smaller amount of hours was really helpful. And then it also allowed us to see strengths that we both had. So for instance, we were able to see like, okay, here's some tasks that I've already given to Emily, like I've given to my VA, but you know what? I actually think I want to take this one back just because it is a little bit more of my strength than hers. And I want to give her this other task instead. So we were able to really tailor the experience for both of us so that both strengths were being met on both ends of the spectrum, which is really helpful. I don't actually remember if we linked this in the guide. So or in that little like 25 things. So I want to make sure I said it when Emily talked about videos. Do you guys, and if this is a silly question too, be like, Kat, we know this, you don't have to tell us, but do you guys know how to record on your screen? Like that it's literally free for you to do? Do you guys know? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna tell you. Perfect. There's an app, it's through Google, it's called Loom, Loom. Super simple. It's great. I love it. I have it on my, I just downloaded it and then it's actually on all my screens now. So I can just click the Loom icon and it'll automatically start recording what's on the screen. You can tell it to record the screen and even your little picture in the corner, or you can tell it to just record the screen and not your face, or just your face and not the screen. You can really customize it to do whatever you want. That has been super helpful for us. As we were talking back and forth about how to do tasks in the business. For instance, this actually wasn't with Emily, this was with my lead planner, Hannah, but I'll give you this example. Hannah is a lead planner for my wedding planning company, Dear Sweetheart Events, and she blogs the weddings that she works. Right? I want her to have a voice on the blog and to be able to share about those couples that she's working with. So to show her the back end of my blog, that seems really daunting, right? Like teaching somebody, how do I go in and like log into WordPress and format the post and what size do things need to be? And it seems like a huge hassle. So what I did was I set Loom to record when I was already planning to do a blog post. So it recorded as I was setting up the blog post and I just spoke out loud and explained every single step I was doing because I already had to do the work anyway. Now I have this recording. I could pop that into our Trello because y'all know we love Trello. We talk about Trello in every coffee chat. I could pop that into the our Trello board, and she now has access to this video to look back on whenever she needs to. So using a tool like Loom will save you time from like onboarding someone. And even for Emily now, she's actually getting ready. We're working with Tailwind for my Pinterest right now. So she's going to be making a video for me to like talk me through some of those things. So it's just a really great way for us to share information quickly, but be able to understand like exactly what the other person is saying in video format versus like writing out and trying to explain it in an email. So yes, Loom is awesome. Go check it out. I couldn't remember if it was in that guide, so I wanted to make sure. I can even pop the link in to the chat here in just a second. And while we're talking about systems, Emily, obviously everybody knows we always use Trello, like you and I do, but I would love for you to talk through like systems you use with other clients, and then we can also share how like our workflow goes back and forth like between us. But I'll let you talk through some of those systems.
Yes, so I do love Trello. I use that with Kat, of course, and I use that with almost every single one of my clients. I love it a lot, and I use it within my own business too. I also love Google. That may seem super simple, but Google is amazing. I pay $5 a month for the special email. So instead of having to log into the host of my website, I can have hello@emilyinlove.com for that $5, and I get it through Google. I also love all of the other programs within Google. So Google Drive, that's what Kat and I use a lot for sharing things. We love Google Documents, Google Sheets. It's like Excel. And we use forms for questionnaires. And then along with the file sharing, I decided recently actually that I really love Dropbox. I think Google Drive is great for internal, but I found that I really love using Dropbox for sending things outside of us. And let's see, I made myself a cheat sheet so I didn't forget one. I use Toggle, Toggl, to track my time. It's free, and you can separate all of the different things that you're tracking by project or by client, like however you need to do it. I also really love Canva to create graphics. It is also a free tool, but they have a $12.95, I believe it is, you can pay per month to get the business version. And I love that because I can add all of my business branding, but I can also add in all of my clients' branding. You can have all of their different brand colors, their logos. I can add images. So it really makes creating graphics pretty simple. Let's see what else. Also, I know it's tax season right now, so this, maybe everyone already knows about this, but if you don't, I want to share it. I have an app on my phone, and it's called Tiny Scanner, and it is a scanning app for your phone. So basically, instead of having to go to a scanner, you take a picture of the document on your phone, and it instantly turns it into a PDF that you can then email directly from your phone wherever you want it to go.
Emily told me about Tiny Scanner a couple months ago, and my mind was blown. I couldn't believe that there was a tool so simple out there that was so helpful. So with all of those tools, Emily, for those of us out there who are, or not those of us, since I obviously already have a VA, but for people who are thinking about hiring a VA, if somebody doesn't use one of those systems, like maybe someone's like, well, I'm not on Trello, or I don't really use Google Drive. Do you require that your clients use those systems, or how does that process work if they don't have some of those systems already in place?
So I do not require that they use those, but I do love sharing with them why I love them and how I could implement them in their business so they love them too. But if they already have a system in place that works really well for them, that's absolutely okay. I just ask that they teach me how to use their system so I feel 100% comfortable.
Absolutely. That makes sense. And for just those of you guys wondering, basically all of those things Emily said, we use together. When I was hiring Emily, I moved my entire business to Google Drive, meaning all of the folders and subfolders that I had on my laptop, I just transferred everything over into Google Drive so that I knew that I would be able to access it wherever I was on any device, and then any additional VA or team member that I brought on board, and I could give access to those things. So I moved everything over to Google Drive, and now literally everything just lives in Google Drive. And then we use Trello, which we both use Trello on our own, and then we have Trello together. So we use Trello for a lot of things. And in terms of communication, Emily and I talk a lot through Trello because it's super helpful to just be able to talk back and forth right there in Trello. We will also, we'll send emails when necessary, but for the most part, she and I are doing quick chatting through Trello, and then we do text. So sometimes that's easier too, right? To just be able to say, hey, I'm working on this. Do you have a second? And we can just get those things done back and forth versus filling each other's inboxes with all of those things. What are some other ways, Emily, that you communicate with your clients, or those your preferred methods as a VA, or what would you kind of suggest?
So everything that you mentioned, I use Trello pretty frequently. I don't mind doing text messages with my clients. It's super convenient, and I found that my email sometimes gets way too bogged down to communicate that way. So I do prefer that. And I also use video calls, something like this for team meetings. If I had to pick a favorite, I would probably say Trello, just because, of course, as we've said, both of our brains work really well with that. And I love that it sends me a notification in 3 different ways, I believe. So it'll be on my laptop, and it will also send me an email, and I get a text on my phone. So if it's something that's urgent, I can take care of it right away. But otherwise, I'll still have that reminder in my email and when I log into Trello to work.
That's awesome. Thank you for that's super helpful. And that's why I love Trello too. Yeah. And I have an Apple Watch, so I'll even get the notification there. So it's like you get notified in every platform.
Yeah, that was
so you're bound to see it somewhere and get it. One thing, Betsy, I see your question, and Melissa, thank you so much for answering it. It's definitely Toggle. I know on Instagram, I received quite a few questions about how Emily tracks her time, how VAs can track their time. Obviously, every VA is going to be different, right? I guess we probably should have had that disclaimer at the beginning just to let you guys know this is obviously what works for Emily and her business and then what works for the two of us together. But you'll definitely want to check with whoever it is that you're bringing on board. As your VA with what systems they like, but Toggle is great because it's free. Emily does a max of 20 hours per week for me. So isn't that funny? She went from 5 hours to 20 hours very quickly, actually. And what we do, and again, this is just our system, is Emily lets me know when she's getting close to that max for the week. So then we can decide okay, are there still enough priority tasks that I need her to work more than that? Does she have time to work more than that because she has other clients that are also requiring weekly hours? What does that look like? So we have that conversation. But it's helpful for me to then know, okay, she's hitting this max, so I don't want her to do these other 2 things that were on the to-do list. They can roll over and wait until Monday. And then at the end of every month, she sends me an invoice through HoneyBook is the system that she uses. So she sends me an invoice in HoneyBook. I'm able to then see what all of her hours were for the entire month, broken down, and able to get that paid and sent over to her. So it's super helpful because it is so automated. And so I have access to things when I need to see something, but I also trust that she'll be able to tell me when we're reaching those max hours and what that looks like for us. Okay, good. I'm so glad that was helpful. Oh, Bethany, let me see. Do you know if there is a similar app to Loom for Android? I don't. Before Loom, I used, it was called Screen-O-Matic. Screen-O-Matic, yes. It wasn't free, which is why I switched to Loom because you only got you got 10 minutes for free, I believe. And I found that I get long-winded. And so sometimes my talks were, when I was explaining something to someone, I would talk for more than 10 minutes. So it wasn't the best app for me to use. But I'm not sure, Bethany, I'm sorry. And I do see there's a bunch of questions in the Ask a Question section. So Emily, I want to ask you one more and then we'll pop over to those questions. But I would love to know what are some of your personal favorite tasks as a VA? What are some of the things that you just love to do and why you are a VA?
Yes. So you've probably picked up on this by now, but I love workflows and checklists. So anything that has a set step-by-step process is absolutely my favorite. I really enjoy creating graphics. I created the graphic for this webinar. I love managing my clients' Pinterest accounts. And I also really love taking content that my clients created and getting it ready to go live. So things like newsletters and blog posts. And so content that I'm not actually writing, and then just getting to make it pretty and share with the world. And I had one more. Oh, I love color coding spreadsheets. We do this for
you do, and you are the best. Yes. The best at it.
I love it. It makes my heart happy.
So see all those detail oriented things that it's just super helpful, guys, for me to be know that there's somebody out there, right, who enjoys doing that and is really good at doing that. And so then I can focus on other aspects of my business, other projects I'm working on, other things like that. And she can handle those back end tasks. So I know that they're getting done and it's organized and beautiful. But I'm not the one that has to do it, which is amazing. Okay, so we have quite a few questions that I want to make sure we have some time for. So that's why I know we still have a half hour, guys, but we really want to answer all of your questions. We've already written down a bunch that we've gotten in Insta story throughout the week. And then I know there are some in here. So let's start with, I know Darlene, you had asked a question earlier. And a lot of other people feel the same way. So you're having a hard time figuring out what you should charge. Do you have any suggestions for the best way to set this up?
And was that specifically for someone that wants to be a VA, or?
That's a good call. We should definitely clarify which way. So Darlene, we'll wait if you're on here live, if you could clarify for us if you're looking to become a VA and have pricing questions, or if you're trying to figure out what you should pay your VA. Let us know. So let's keep going. Let's see with some of the others. Let me pull back up here. This is a good one, Katie. Is there a right time to hire a VA? Should I hit a milestone in my business? There's so many popping in. Should I hit a milestone in my business or reach a certain point? And then I'm also actually going to tag Katie. I'm going to tag yours and with Emily's. That is, how do I know if I can afford a VA? Because I think both of those are very similar questions. So I do not think that you have to hit a certain milestone in your business. I don't think you'll reach a certain point and say, okay, my next step is to hire a VA. It's really going to boil down to when you make that list and when you determine where is your personal time going. Like where do you feel like you need to be able to be freed up and have more time in the day? And because we know, unfortunately, we can't get more than 24 hours in the day, the next best thing is then bringing on a second pair of eyes, a second pair of hands to be able to work on those aspects of your business. So that you are then freed up to be able to tackle other things. So I don't think there's a milestone. I think it really just boils down to where you are in your business and what you feel like is going to fit best. In terms of being able to afford a VA, it comes down to really any business investment, right, guys? We know that we need to invest in our business. We know that there's that saying like you have to spend money to make money, like that sort of thing. And while that can sound like kind of disheartening, I do agree. I think that we do have to take financial risks in our business in order to see great results. It doesn't mean you can't be financially savvy or you can't be strategic about the investments you make in your business, but I do think that you have to make investments. So making an investment in a VA is kind of similar to making an investment in web design or making an investment to attend a conference or have a coach come into your business, and give you like one-on-one perspective. It's all an investment. So you just need to be able to figure out based on your business books, okay, what are my books looking like? What do I have enough in the business account, business income, right, to add another expense line? That would be a VA. Knowing that, so for us, for my business, we know that Emily at a max will work 20 hours per week each week. So that's what I budget for every single month. Now, some months it's a little bit more than that. Some months it's less than that if we're not hitting that. But then I have that budget number to be able to put in and factor in, can I afford to have a VA this year for this particular season of business? So I would take it from that perspective, guys, is looking at it as just a line item on your business expense and figuring out, do you have it in your business income to be able to pay for that additional expense? I hope that's helpful. Please let me know. And feel free, obviously, chime in at any point, Emily, with any of these. I know it looks like some of the questions are more like for me, but please let me know, like, based on your other clients. That would be like so helpful to hear. What tasks do you send to your VA and what tasks do you keep for yourself? Jennifer, that's a great question. So, and this is where I think it will be helpful to maybe to hear from you a little bit, Em. For Emily and I, we pretty much have, like, I know the things that she can and will do for my business, and then I know the things that I can and do for the business. So for instance, Emily does create graphics for me in Canva. So if I have a graphic that I need created, I know I can send that over as a task for my VA to do, and it frees me up from having to do it. Emily does not write content for my business. This was actually a question I got asked several times on Instagram, so I can loop that one into this too. Every VA is going to offer different packages, and if you're looking for somebody to write content for you, you're just going to need to make sure you find a right fit for that. For a while, Emily was posting on the Creative at Heart Instagram for us, which was amazing. And we've since kind of transitioned into where we're both kind of like ping-ponging that, because it is a lot, right? It's a lot of Instagram captions to write, which has been fun to like ping-pong that back and forth. But other than writing those captions, she is not writing blog posts. She is not writing newsletters. She might format them, take what I write in a Google Doc, and format them into the software that it needs, whether it's WordPress or ConvertKit or whatever we're using. but she's not writing that for me. So I know that that's never going to be a task that I'm going to give her because it's not something that she does for my business. So Jennifer, it really does boil down to more of like already knowing ahead of time what are the things that you're planning to keep for yourself, and then what are the things you're ready to give to somebody else to do. That free download we popped in, and I'll pop it in again in case you guys missed it, lists the top 25 things a VA can do for you today, and just to kind of get your brain going on, okay, these are tasks that I could give to somebody else. So that might be helpful too.
I think it's important too that when you're planning to give something off, that you're confident in how it's going to be done and that you can share your workflow. So maybe they have done something very similar for someone else, and that business owner did it differently than the way you want it done. So I think like just being very upfront about your expectations is very important.
That's super helpful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me go back to questions here, guys. JJ, where can I find a wonderful VA like Emily? Just Google. So Emily, do you have any suggestions for how business owners can find a VA, where they can go to look for one?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely recommend asking other business owners where they found their VA. I can tell you that every single one of my clients has come through Creative at Heart Connections and also from word of mouth. I actually did a questionnaire not too long ago with some of my dream clients, and I asked them what were the most, what ways were they going to find, what ways were they most likely to bring on a VA? And number one across the board, it was word of mouth. Marketing efforts were not important at all. It was just based on what their industry peers were telling them. And also, you can always post on social media. I see a lot of these posts all the time, and they usually have pretty good feedback when you do post about those.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I do think that it is really helpful. I mean, obviously your questionnaire spoke for itself when they said word of mouth was the number one way. I reached out to Emily before her business had like officially started as a VA because I knew her, because it was like referral based, right? Like I had met her, we had an in-person connection. I had already seen her work ethic. And so I felt so much better about opening up my business and allowing her to come into my business. I think something that we want to remember as business owners taking in a VA, it is very much a team effort, right? Yes, you are hiring this person into your business, but they're also allowing you into theirs, right? She's taking me on as a client. She's allowing my 20 hours a week to fill up her week along with other clients. So it really does need to be a give and take on both sides. And that's where that personality fit is so important. I think I've brought team members onto my team before for other tasks that it has not been a good fit. And it has either been something we've realized very quickly, and so we have just ended that relationship, or it's been something that maybe has been gradual over time, but we've had to say, you know what, this just isn't working for either one of us. We just need to go our separate ways, and that's okay. But it's just making sure that you communicate really well and you're open to having maybe some of those harder conversations and understanding that it's a team effort through and through, and it's not one-sided at all. Lucretia, do you ladies have a list of VA referrals you can share? Emily, do you have a list?
I do have a few. You can absolutely email me. I'll pop my email in and I can share those with you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, let me see. Let me go back to our questions here. I'm having a hard time. Okay, we did that one. Oh, I can do that. Let's see. Start answering. Okay, it looks like, one more. Oh, about contracts. This is a great question, Jessica. I know you said you had to pop out. I'm not sure if you're back yet. Is it okay or insulting to a VA to have a contract that I draw up to protect myself and my business for VA to hire in addition to the contract that the VA will have to get paid for their services? If so, what things should be included? That's a great question. So obviously we are not legal advisors, but I'm happy to just give you a little bit of advice on that, but I would definitely suggest like reaching out to like, we can pop in like maybe Paige's link and Christina's link just to give you guys some resources for lawyers you could reach out to, or contract templates that are available to you. Emily and I do not have two contracts. She has a contract as a virtual assistant that not only protects her, but protects her clients as a virtual assistant that she sends to me. And I then, of course, like read it over, look over all of like kind of like the fine print details and sign that. So I then do not send her a contract on top of the one that she sends, because I feel like the one that she has set in place is protecting of both of us. It's not just one-sided. Think about it kind of when you're working with a web designer, right? And they send you a contract. You're not then also sending them a contract. I feel like it's could potentially make some things void if there's two contracts going back and forth versus just having one really concrete contract that covers the needs. What I would suggest, Jessica, and for anybody else who has this question, but again, Paige and Christina are 100% the experts on this, not us. But what I would suggest is if you receive a contract from a VA and there's some things that you feel like are missing that you would like to be added, talk with them. Say, hey, this looks good, but I really would like there to be this clause and this clause also added for additional protection of myself, and just have that conversation back and forth, business owner to business owner, versus feeling like you needed to have two separate contracts for those services. Jessica, I've worked with a VA and her contract only covered her, and I didn't feel like my business was protected at all, but didn't want to insult her and not show trust. I don't think that's insulting if it's done in like a very genuine way, right? Like just reaching out and saying like, I'm so excited to work with you. Thank you for sending this. I do have a couple quick questions about the contract. Here's some things that I'd really like to see added so that I feel a little bit better. And just like think about it, like for me, I might have some brides sometimes. Typically it's the father of the bride, right? That's like inquiring with me on, hey, I don't understand this clause in the contract, or why is this here? And while it can be a little bit intimidating to talk about a contract, it's helpful for both parties to have those conversations and make sure that everybody is really comfortable. So I don't consider it insulting, but Emily, how do you feel like you would feel if like Jessica reached out to you and then, responded with some questions about your contract?
Goodness. I would definitely, all of my contracts come from, they actually come from Page Health. So I do feel really good about my contracts personally. But I would absolutely be open to their questions. And if I didn't understand something they were asking, I would reach out to Paige because she's awesome and she's helped me so much. And I would make sure that she could help with that process too, since she has vetted my contract, and make sure that she feels confident, or she feels comfortable answering their questions and explaining to me how to help. And also, you can always reach out to someone like Paige or Christina and have them review the contract that you are sent on probably an hourly basis or a service fee or something like that. And they could give you suggestions on maybe what you could ask to have added.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's great. So definitely Paige and Christina are wonderful resources for you guys to utilize. Okay, a couple other questions in here. I love this. I love that you guys are asking us lots of questions. So Sarah asked, as an aspiring VA, how do you recommend you get referrals if you're just starting out? And I know, Emily, we had even talked like prior to going live, what are some things that you would tell somebody, like you would suggest to somebody who's interested in becoming VA? So let's talk about that for a minute, and then we'll answer some of these other questions.
I would absolutely recommend that you start small. For me, I started as the Creative at Heart social media intern, and now I'm Kat's assistant, and I am on her Creative at Heart team. But I didn't start there. There's always going to be an entrepreneur out there that needs your help, and they may not even know it yet. So figure out who your dream clients are and what their pain points are so you can solve them, and then reach out to them and let them know how you can help. And be okay if you just start with one client. That's totally fine. That's what I did, and it worked out amazing, obviously.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that you can definitely just start to make connections, right? And email, like Emily said, if you recognize somebody who maybe has a pain point, or you are, you've realized, you know what, you really love Pinterest management, or you really love Instagram management, or there's like a specific task within being a VA that you like really, really want to kind of hone in on, reach out and like pitch those services to creatives that you feel like are dream clients for you. Because you never know. Like while some people might say no, there's probably going to be at least one of them that says yes. And you never know if you're going to email that person on just the right day, right? When they've had just enough of an overwhelm with that specific task. And they're like, yes, I just need to bring on somebody. What does this look like? To be able to talk with them about it. So definitely doing that. And then I would suggest also reaching out to other VAs. Are there any like, and this might not, I don't know if this is a thing, Emily, are there any Facebook groups that you have found to be helpful? Or is that not, I know sometimes Facebook groups are super overwhelming and we just want to stay far away from them, but I didn't know if there happened to be any that you found to be helpful under the realm of VA.
I'm going to be completely honest and tell you that I'm not in any of those Facebook groups. I think it is a thing and they do exist. For me, a big part of my job with so many of my clients is managing Facebook groups. So I did not want to get into another Facebook group because I do already have so many. But I think it is.
That makes sense.
I just don't know what to tell you their names are.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I know some of you guys might already be in or have heard of the Savvy Business Owner Facebook group. I'm in that one. And obviously it's not just for VAs. I'm not a VA, but just in general of like it being a Facebook group that I feel like is very large, but not massive. I'll see posts pop in there frequently of women who are like, I'm looking to hire so-and-so. I'm for it to be able to do this for my business, or I'm looking to hire somebody to do this for my business. And so that could be just a really good source of connections for you guys. If you're not, oh, Nelly, there's a group in Kansas City called Live Free Mama with many VAs, aspiring VAs. Okay, cool. So yeah, there probably are. We're not 100% familiar with all of them. Sarah, and I know Melissa, you had said that question read your mind. Let us know if that answered that question. Katie, you had it too, or if we can obviously talk a little bit more about aspiring VAs and becoming a VA for sure. Let's see. I will say this just to like hopefully give you guys a boost of confidence. I do think that there's a need for really incredible VAs in the industry because both Emily and I mean, Emily, your calendar's full now, isn't it? Yeah, so Emily's calendar's full. I know you still get requests. I get emails from women who are like, how did you find Emily? Like, where can I find a VA? Which is one of the reasons we wanted to do this coffee chat. So we definitely feel like there's a need for VAs in the industry, which is hopefully super encouraging to you to like keep pushing forward. Bobby, what is Trello? JJ, thank you for answering. It's a project management tool, keeps track of everything from big picture to the minute details. I love that answer. Bobby, if you have more questions, let us know. It's free too, which is awesome. Let's see, Melissa's question here. Emily, do you set up days, times you are working with available for different clients? Okay, so like balancing multiple clients. What does that look like for you?
Honestly, no, I don't do that. I do block schedule my weeks, but it's more along the lines of tasks. So if I'm doing the same task for two different clients, I'm gonna group those two things together. So even though it's for two different clients, I'm not jumping from task to task if I do need to do the same thing for multiple clients. But no, I definitely don't. I don't tell any of my clients that I'm going to be working for them the same time every week, and none of them have ever asked that of me. I think you could definitely set that up in your business, but the way that I've designed mine, I haven't had to do that yet.
Good question. Kristen, Emily, how many clients do you feel like you can successfully handle per week or per month? What does that look like for you? Do you want to talk about like your full service versus packages or not? We don't have to. I didn't know how complicated that would be.
It would probably be pretty complicated.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would definitely suggest having packages, and if you're gonna offer full service, do not offer that to everyone. I think there are only so many full service clients. I mean, obviously we've been very open and shared that I work up to 20 hours a week for CAT. So obviously with the number of hours that I have in a week, I couldn't work up to 20 hours for multiple other clients. So I think creating packages that are more task-based. So for example, Pinterest management or graphic creation or social media management. and really just giving those full service options to 1 or 2 clients, with 3 being the absolute max, and then really focusing on just project-based tasks.
That's awesome. No, that's really helpful because I feel like sometimes when Emily and I are talking, I'm like, girl, you need a VA. Like you're a VA, but you might like, just because I can't imagine, like my brain doesn't work that way. I can't imagine having so many different clients with a variety of workflows, and some are full service, and I mean, that's why there's people who love to be VAs like Emily, which is awesome because I couldn't do it. Okay. So a couple questions on like payment and legalities here coming up. So how do you know how much to pay a VA? By task, hourly rate. So Emily and I have an hourly rate. So it's whatever tasks fall under those hours. I don't say like, when you're doing Pinterest, it's this amount of money, or when you're doing social media, it's this amount of money. It's an hourly rate. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Emily, but from what I know of, I assume it's an hourly rate, or it's some sort of package deal where you're saying like Pinterest management for this person to do Pinterest management for me for a 3-month time period is going to be X amount, correct?
Yes. So I have package prices that are not hourly rate, and they're more like I've sat down and I figured out how much time and all of the things that are going to go into it, and I've created a package price, and that is either like per month or for every 3 months, just depending on the task and the contract that I've put together.
That's awesome. And then Betsy, I see you popped in here in the chat. What's a fair hourly rate for someone like Emily? Can you give me a range, like $15 to $20 an hour? I didn't know if you had like a range that you recommend, you know what I mean, for VA starting out, or for like when people are looking to hire a VA, and what you would, you know what I mean, consider.
Right. So pricing is actually my number one question that I get in my inbox every week.
I bet.
Yes, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer honestly. I don't feel comfortable sharing like all of my numbers. But what I would say is that let's see, are you looking to hire someone or looking to be a VA? But either way, like the VA needs to sit down and they need to determine their pricing. And I think a lot of factors go into that, their experience and what they're going to be doing. Someone who is creating your website is going to have a much different hourly rate than someone who is managing your Facebook group. So it's totally dependent on the task.
Absolutely.
On the reverse side, sorry. I was gonna say,
No, you go ahead.
If you were asking about being a VA and the pricing, what I would do is tell you to sit down and to determine what you need to make in your business, and then figure out how much time you have to commit to all of those tasks, and then take those numbers and build your packages from there.
Yeah, that's really smart. When I have looked at hiring like additional team members, just to give you guys like ranges of things, I have gotten price points from anywhere from $15 an hour to $50 an hour. I know that's like an incredible range, and I'm not trying to be so broad with that, but it really does just depend on, is this like, what's this person's area of expertise, and where are they going to be stepping into the business, and what are they going to be doing? So that's where, when we talked about before, the kind of that first step for those of you who are looking to hire a VA, having that list of, okay, where are the needs in your business? What are you looking for? So that when you reach out, you can say, I'm looking for someone who can specifically do workflow management for me, Pinterest management, and my Facebook groups. Okay, those are the 3 things that VA can then say, okay, my price for this is whatever, you know, if they say that's $30 an hour because of the time for the work, I don't know, like that's going to depend on that specific person, and how many hours they think that that's going to take up based on what their expertise is. So definitely start with that needs. And then I would, just like anything, guys, I think sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of times money scares us. And we feel really uncomfortable talking about money. We feel really uncomfortable asking people what their price is, because it makes us feel like icky. Like we just don't like to talk about money. We wish we could run our business and pay our bills without money, right? It would be amazing. Like everyone gets monopoly money. But money exists. And we, as business owners who are hiring a VA, have to understand the budget. We have to know, what is this person's hourly rate. Can I afford that? Just like the VA on their end, they have to know what it's worth to them to do the task. So don't be afraid when you're reaching out. Say, hey, I'm just now starting to reach out. I have no idea in terms of like hourly costs. I'm not really sure. So I would love your feedback and your thoughts on the task that I'm looking for in my business and what this would be, so I can best look at my budget and decide if this is something I can do. And don't be afraid to do that. I don't feel like, and Emily, you can please correct me if I'm wrong. I personally don't feel like that's uncomfortable or insulting to anybody to literally say like, I know I need this in my business, but I really don't know if I can afford it. So I need to know how much it costs so then I can look at my budget and see if I can afford it. I did that when I did my first website because I had no idea how much a custom website costs. No idea. I was shocked, and like they do a lot of work, but I was like, okay, I'm glad I asked. Now I need to know when I can move forward with doing this big custom website process now that I know how much this is going to cost. So it's helpful to get all of those facts and do that research before. So don't be afraid to email and ask that. Okay, let's see. Ashley, please explain the difference between an hourly contract, a retainer contract, and a package contract. Can you clarify? I don't know exactly what you mean in terms of like explaining the difference between that. And I don't really know, honestly, if we would be able to help. I'm not trying to say I don't want to answer your question, but I want to make sure I can answer your question to the best of our ability. So if you don't mind clarifying for that, I'm going to keep going. Emily, do you prefer your VA as a 1099 or W-2? VAs are typically subcontracted. So there's an independent contractor, a subcontractor of my business. So Emily gets a 1099 from me at the end of the year for next year. I hope that helps, Emily. So she's not like a salaried employee for my business. And most VAs are going to own their own company, right? And they're working with multiple clients, just like a wedding planner owns her own company. She works with multiple brides, that sort of analogy there. Okay, we're almost out of time, but I want to answer these questions. You guys have some really good ones. Have you heard of anyone running a shop on Etsy that uses a VA? I feel like there are definite ways I could use someone, but I'm interested to see what you think about this. Sometimes the management of the shop customers can get overwhelming. Absolutely. It's admin tasks, right? Maybe uploading new products, responding to messages and fulfilling orders. So I definitely feel like when you make that list of the needs you have in your business, you might have some that are tailored specifically for Etsy, but it's still a need that you have in your business. And you could either train a VA who isn't familiar with it on the back end, or find somebody who maybe had an Etsy shop and doesn't anymore, or has one but is also interested in like becoming a VA, that sort of thing. That's a good question, Ashley. I'm trying to go through these so fast, you guys. Let's see. Since you help manage Facebook groups, how do your clients send you content to post? I'm struggling with how to hand off the voice of my coaching group to someone else. Do you have tips for this, Emily?
So I'm actually not posting any content right now, so no one is sharing that information with me. In the past, I did do that for one client once, and the way she shared that content for me was she basically sent me a Google Doc filled with all of the different topics that she wanted to cover, and each day had a I guess a theme that she wanted to stick with. So for example, Tuesdays would be all about marketing, and she gave me a list of questions to ask in the group, and we were using CoSchedule, so we everything was planned out in advance. So I wasn't actually going into the group every single day. It was all planned out in advance. And she also gave me the freedom to because she felt comfortable that I would use her voice. So she gave me the freedom to come up with some of those questions on my own to add in the groups. But you have to feel comfortable with the person that's doing that to hand that task off.
Absolutely. That was a good question though. Ashley, I see you. So what is retainer versus regularly hourly contract? So what I assume you're asking is like a retainer would be for like a package contract, right? So like for instance, even for me with wedding planning, my brides pay a set, like say it's $2,000, a set $2,000 fee. It's a 50% retainer when they book at $1,000 with the remainder due 14 days before the wedding. So that would be like a package contract with a retainer. Whereas an hourly contract, I don't have a retainer with Emily, I pay her for the hours that she works every single month based on Toggle, right? Tracking her time, and then the invoice that she sends me at the end of each month. So I hope that's helpful, Ashley, but please let us know if it's not.
Yeah, for anyone that I
And
have a package price with, I have an onboarding fee. So that includes all of the time that it takes me to learn all about their business and any like administrative tasks that I need to do to get ready for the project. But I don't really have
that's
retainers,
awesome.
but I do have that onboarding fee, which I guess is very, very similar.
Yes, but that's really smart of you. Again, guys, thinking about it from the VA perspective, right? She needs to be compensated for her time and learning how to do the new software, setting up the workflow before she gets started. So yeah, that's great.